Hello and welcome to another episode on the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Joy Ravella. Today, we're talking about learning a new skill. Sometimes we can write ourselves off because we're too old or we're too busy, or maybe this is an area we've never quite excelled at. The beautiful thing, though, is that a skill is something that you can grow in. And in today's verse, the Bible talks about skilled people being incredibly valued. Let's get into today's verse.
Proverbs 22:29, the MSG version. Observe people who are good at their work. Skilled workers are always in demand and admired. They don't take a backseat to anyone.
I've got the lovely Jen once again here in studio. It's been a great week of conversations.
Amazing.
Yesterday's one, you have to have a listen to it. We talk about the toxic workplace culture, and the conversation just went in a completely different direction. You just have to listen to it. Today, though, we are kind of taking a little sidestep. We're not talking about work specifically, but we're talking about skilled people, skills that you can work at and how that's admired when someone is very good at their craft. What's your first impression of this verse?
I really like this verse because it really relates to the way my style of learning. I love to observe others and soak in what they do and how they act and how they speak. And so I feel seen when I read this verse. How about you?
I think for me, this verse just tells me that when people excel in a certain area, they are recognized both by the secular world and the faith world as well. I watched this little mini video online the other day, and this person was talking about leading with talent. And he said a lot of people go leading first with their faith and their talent comes second. But he said when a Christian person works out in the mainstream field, lead with your talent. Like, do really well, be hardworking, be ethical, do a really good job. And then when you say to people, this is the God I believe in and this is why I work hard, it has a more powerful impact than you saying, I'm a Christian, this is what I believe, but then you don't do a good job.
Wow, that's so cool.
Long-winded answer there, but leading with talent, especially if you're out in the secular workplace, but also if you work in a Christian space as well. Yes, absolutely. Lead with your talent. What about you in terms of this verse and what it shares about who God is or what matters to him?
Yeah, well, I can see here that God really values us individually, because he's the one who gifted us these unique skills. He's always wanting us to grow with each other. And I see this verse as God's encouragement to learn from each other, from our community.
Yeah. How has this verse come alive in your own world?
Well, I love how God chooses like these right moments for us, right? So with this verse, I actually very, very recently just wanted to pick up a new skill, and it's about becoming more emotionally intelligent. It actually all started with me questioning my parenting skills. I was like, why is Chelsea being like throwing tantrums over the smallest little thing? Like, it seems like the silliest thing, right? I don't know if it's her or if it's me. And so I was going through parenting articles, and being emotionally intelligent is what stood out to me. Let me paint a picture really quickly. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I wake up Chelsea. She's a bit cranky because she's got woken up, but I need to get ready. And then so I quickly give her off to her grandma, Popo, which is Chinese for grandma. And she's a bit sad because mum's just about to leave, but she's eating breakfast and she's like, okay. And she goes and plays with her toy, but she can't find her special Elmo toy. And so she's looking around, she's getting a bit upset. And then it's lunch and she does a nappy. She's feeling uncomfortable. You see those little micro moments? They're slowly building up. So when I finally come home and I give her like food and things, and she'll ask for a cookie, and I'll give her a cookie. But it's not the cookie that she thought in her head, and she absolutely loses it. And I'm thinking, geez, girl, you asked for a cookie.
I gave you a cookie.
Just eat the cookie. It's not just about the cookie.
Yeah, there's been a build up the whole day.
Correct. And we expect our kids to be emotionally aware that these little moments build up to this one big moment, and us as parents, we don't recognize that. And so this is why I was like, you know what, I need to be able to go, okay, how do I show her how to regulate these emotions? How do I show her it's okay that mum's leaving right now? It's okay that you did a nappy. How do I show her? And the only way to show her is for me to actually learn the skill, to be emotionally aware of my own emotions when I get upset.
Yeah. And so this is a skill you've said you want to invest time and energy into.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, is amazing, because I think a lot of people, the older they get, write themselves off when it comes to learning a new skill. Things like learning the piano at a later age, or picking up a new hobby. It's something that we discount ourselves from. But learning new ways of thinking, learning new ways of doing relationships, that is scary. That takes bravery.
Oh, thank you.
But what I love is that you're doing some very practical things to grow in this skill. And, you know, Proverbs 22:29 says, observe people who are good at their work. Skilled workers are always in demand and admired. They don't take a back seat to anyone. And what I love is that this verse doesn't say talented workers, skilled workers, because there's a difference. Some people are just born with crazy talent and they don't need to practice it, and they're just amazing. But this verse says skilled workers, and skills can be learnt.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which is like that. Which is what you're doing. You're learning a new skill. So for that person or that parent right now who sees an area in their life, they're like, I'm not very skilled at that, or this is an area I can grow in, and looks at this verse maybe differently and thinks, oh, actually I can learn and grow in this area. What would be your practical tips and thoughts around growing and developing a new skill as an adult, as a very busy mum?
Very busy. Well, first off, taking it to God, because God is our ultimate, right? He is our firstmost. So taking it to him, because God is the one who showed me this. Having that nagging feeling, I prayed to God. I was like, God, what's going on? Take it to him first. He will lead you. And he may not lead you in a way of him going, hey, you, turn on your computer, do this, do that, right? He will bring something up to you.
Yeah.
And that's what he did for me. The second step, we love the internet. Google is such an amazing place, also a giant rabbit hole, but there are little steps and little ways that you can just Google it. It could be a 10-minute course. It could be
like those free tutorials you get on YouTube.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so cool. There's so much free stuff out there right now, and they're short and they're sweet and they're straight to the point.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So you're saying invite God into it, use the resources you have available, like the internet.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts for today's episode?
Yeah. Well, in summary, this is something that I'm working on myself. This is something that I'm hoping that Chelsea can pick up later on. You're never too young or too old to learn a new skill. You're never not as busy or super busy enough to learn a new skill. I feel like this is a really great way of summarizing all the verses that we've spoken this week. Be hardworking, be part of a great community, skill up, and admit that you have something to learn.
I think the one thing that jumps out at me with this episode is this idea that Jen was led to a skill area that she needed to grow in. That God gently nudged her and said, hey, this is an area that you should really work on. And maybe for you, there's something in your life that you know you need to work at. And the easiest way is step 1, talk to God about it, ask for his help. And step 2, use the resources available to you. I mean, Google is a great first place to start. But if you've got someone in your world who's already pretty skilled at this, flick them a text, an email, ask them if you can pick their brains for 15 minutes. There's nothing as nice as having someone say to you, I think you're an expert in this area and I want to learn from you. Flattery can definitely take you a long way. So that's part 1 of today's application. What is an area that you need to upskill in? Part 2 of the application takes us back to the verse, Proverbs 22:29. Observe people who are good at their work. Skilled workers are always in demand and admired. They don't take a back seat to anyone. What I love about this verse is that it acknowledges the need for skilled Christians in all sorts of work spheres, whether it's in the science community, in the creative arts, whether you're a teacher, whether you are working on a project of some kind at uni, whatever it looks like. Skilled people stand out. And just imagine what powerful conversations you can have, what a testimony your life can be if you are both a very skilled worker and committed to a life in Jesus. Maybe for you, today's application is to stay the course, to continue bringing excellence to the table, not just because of your own skills and personal sense of pride, but because of who you serve and who you represent. Well, that wraps up today's episode on the Everyday Joy podcast. I am looking forward to next week. The amazing Joe will be back for all of next week's episodes. Cannot wait. See you then.